His mother started crying again, saying I was rejecting their family heritage, that they'd stayed up late making the banner. Blake looked between me and his parents for a long moment, then got out and started pulling the banner down. His father tried to stop him, but Blake kept going until the whole thing was wadded up on the porch. We carried Charlie inside while his parents stood there looking shocked, and I locked the door behind us. That first night home was awful. Charlie cried for hours, that newborn crying that sounds like the end of the world, and Blake and I could barely speak to each other. We moved around the house like strangers, passing the baby back and forth, heating bottles, changing diapers, not making eye contact. Around 3 in the morning, while I was walking Charlie around the living room trying to get him to sleep, Blake suggested maybe we could just use both names depending on the situation, like Nimrod for legal stuff but Charlie for everything else. I stopped walking and looked at him. I said that was exactly the kind of weak compromise that got us here, that our son deserved parents who would fight for him, not parents who caved every time things got hard. Blake didn't say anything else. He just took Charlie from me and kept walking circles around the coffee table while I went to lie down in our bed, wondering how we were going to survive this. The doorbell rang at 8 the next morning while I was trying to get Charlie to latch for feeding. Blake answered it, and I heard his father's voice in the living room, loud and formal like he was giving a business presentation. I wrapped Charlie in his blanket and walked out to find Blake's father standing there in a suit holding a leather folder. He didn't even look at the baby. He opened the folder and pulled out a stack of papers with the family trust letterhead across the top. He laid them on our coffee table and pointed to a section highlighted in yellow. The trust required a certified birth certificate proving the legal first name was Nimrod, within 30 days of birth, or the beneficiary would be permanently excluded. He looked at Blake and said if we missed that deadline, not only would Charlie lose his inheritance, but Blake would be removed from the will entirely for failing to uphold the family obligation. Blake's face went white. His father picked up the papers, put them back in the folder, and set it on the table. Then he left without saying anything else. Blake stood there staring at the folder like it might explode. I went back to the nursery to finish feeding Charlie because I couldn't deal with Blake's panic on top of everything else. Later that afternoon, I was going through the hospital discharge papers looking for the pediatrician follow-up information when I found the pre-registration form I'd filled out during my 3rd trimester. I remembered filling it out clearly because I'd written Charles under planned baby name and felt happy seeing it in writing. But someone had crossed out Charles in different handwriting and written Nimrod above it in blue ink. My handwriting was black. I called the hospital records department and waited on hold for 15 minutes. The woman who answered said she was looking at the digital scan of the form, and yes, there were 2 different handwritings on it. I asked when the change was made, and she put me on hold again. When she came back, she said Blake's mother had submitted an updated form the day I went into labor with a note saying we'd changed our minds about the name. I hung up and just sat there holding the papers. Blake's mother had gone to the hospital while I was in labor and changed our paperwork. She'd planned this. They'd all planned this. Charlie's first week home was a blur of feeding every 2 hours and maybe sleeping 30 minutes at a time between crying sessions. I spent the tiny breaks when he actually slept researching name change laws on my phone. Every website said the same thing. You need to file a petition with the court. You need legal representation. You need to publish notice in the newspaper. The process takes months minimum. Some sites said it could